You don't need another fat loss or fitness program. What you really need is lifestyle design. That was one of the first messages that I actually gave my client, David, who inspired this video, who actually ended up dropping about 30 pounds in the last 3 months inside of our coaching program. And on today's video, I want to give you just some no-nonsense, brutal fat loss advice that I've given him and countless others, including myself, over the past 20 years of being a fitness coach and a fat loss leader in the space. And today, I hope you get some value out of this and start to map out your transformation plan, and hopefully you can start taking action today. What's up, guys? My name is Josiah Novak. I run a company called The True Transformation. We help successful men over 40 with families who are faith-based, who ultimately want fitness to just be the pillar in their life, just like everything else that they've been successful with, from their business success, their family success, who they are as a man of faith, who they are in their communities. They're well respected, but just that one thing in life, that fitness, that body, they just haven't been able to obtain. They want to be ripped, muscular, being able to go out and perform, do things with their body, but they just need a system because they've put everything else in front of their life. That's what we help guys do here at The True Transformation. So in today's video, I'm breaking down some of the best fat loss strategies that I've given guys like David. When guys come into our program, there's a lot of preconceived notion about fat loss. And you're probably watching this thinking that fat loss really has to, number one, be torture in a way, right? You have to put yourself through the ringer when it comes to getting in shape. And I think that this is a huge misconception, because the harder things are, the less likely you are to stick with them long term. We have two brains in our main brain, and that is our emotional brain and our logical brain. Our logical brain knows exactly what we need to do most times, right, to get the result we want. The logic of, hey, we need to eat healthier, we need to exercise, we need to get better sleep, drink less alcohol. That's logical. But our emotional brain will justify doing things that will sabotage our goals for emotional reasons, right? Like, hey, you deserve to have a cheat meal. You deserve to drink a lot because you've been working hard. You don't need to be ripped because that's just thinking about yourself too much, and that's selfish, right? That's the emotional brain getting in the way of the goals that we want. So we have to understand this, right? We have to know going into a phase where we're trying to lose body fat that our emotional brain is going to be really the driver of the car as we go forward, and our logical brain kind of sits in the back seat and tries to help the emotional brain make smart decisions. This is why it's so important to have strategies around how we think, right? When I help guys who have a lot going on, maybe they've achieved a ton with their career and they're at the top of the food chain, in their company, or they run a big business and they're respected, right? I say, listen, at the end of the day, you're overqualified to be in shape, because you had to go through a lot of emotional struggles. You had to go through some roller coaster moments in your life in order to reach the success that you have. Growing your career, or being a great father, or heck, even dealing with the struggles that come from just being a man who wants to make the right choice in life. There's a lot of emotional turmoil that takes place. You fight a lot of battles to reach success. So fitness, I think, is much easier in some cases than these other things, right? It's all about just mastering, the way we think about our food and how we use our food, how we use exercise, and so people come in and they think, man, I have to kick my own butt to get in shape. I have to really struggle if I'm going to reach success. We hear from guys like David Goggins who are like, you got to go run till your feet fall off. If you want to be successful, you got to conquer that inner bitch, right? If you want to be ripped. I don't take that approach. I think at the end of the day, fitness can be used to relieve stress. It can be used to help avoid eating your feelings away. It can be a place where you find comfort. It can be a place where you find refuge, where you have an anchor in your day, something that is in your day on most days that makes you feel better, right? Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's a healthy meal that tastes really good, gives you that, dopamine rush, but is ultimately healthy for you and helps you control your calories. Fitness doesn't have to be torture. I think that's one of the first lessons that I help guys unpack, because, a guy like David comes in and he's tried a lot of things before. He's tried Weight Watchers. He's tried, taking different pills and different supplements over the counter to help him burn fat and boost his testosterone. He's maybe hired a personal trainer who saw him a couple times a week and just could never find his groove. And he would get frustrated because he thinks, I'm doing all the right things. But when you really break it down, it's like the things he was doing, he actually didn't enjoy them. He looked at them as, things he had to do, not things he wanted to do. So we got to fix our mindset around fitness, and we got to allow our emotional brain to exist, because it's going to exist no matter what. but can we pair it with a little more logic, or can we trick our emotional brain into loving the process? Actually wanting to go for a walk and actually wanting to eat healthier because of the emotional response that it gives us. If you're successful in your life and you've built something for yourself and you look in the mirror and you're just like, man, I'm just not happy with how I look, I promise you a big part of it is because of the way you mentally approach fitness. And so this leads me to the next piece of brutal fat loss advice that I've given guys like David and myself and all the other people is that, at the end of the day, we're all unique, and so our journey is going to look different than the person that we admire. You might follow me for fat loss advice and fitness advice and go, man, I want to have those results. And I promise you can definitely get those results. Absolutely. It's 100% possible. It's just your journey might look slightly different. And what I mean by that is you might go into fitness and transformation and saying, all right, this year I'm getting my mind and my body right. Everything's going to be dialed in. I'm going to be the total package. And in your mind, you think I'm going to lose a certain amount of weight in a certain period of time. My body's going to start to change in this specific way in this specific time period. It doesn't always work like that, right? So we have to really temper our expectations a bit, and we need to put our focus on our process, not the outcome. We get so fixated on a number on a scale, right? And we say, if that number doesn't hit, man, I failed. If we get fixated on the week that our abs are supposed to show up, or the strength that we're supposed to have in the gym, this sets you up for failure because these are outcome-based goals. And ends up helping you fail in two different ways. Number one, you don't get to celebrate the wins every day because you're waiting for that big win. So you kind of discard the daily wins and you don't get to build momentum much faster than you could. The other way it makes you fail is once you do reach that outcome, like let's say you get the number on the scale that you've wanted, well then you're left with kind of nothing, right? You're like, wow, I reached the top of the mountain, now what? But if you're just process-based, if you're like, hey, once I get abs, like cool, but I'm still focused on the process. I'm still focused on the 3M system, movement, muscle, meals. And I'm still focused on sleep. I'm still focused on drinking once a week. That's it, or whatever it is, whatever your process looks like. Well, then you can't lose really, because even if you have abs, even if you hit the number on the scale, even if you get the muscle you want, the strength that you want, the process is still the focus, right? You wake up the next day and you're like, yeah, cool, I got abs, cool. The process is still the thing. So we have to change our mind around what we focus on. So get out of this whole outcome-based approach and focus on the process. So let's talk about the process. I know a lot of guys come into fitness and they think, okay, I got to eat clean. I got to just, ditch all the bad stuff. I got to go to the gym every day. I got to go for a run. And they start throwing the kitchen sink at the problem. And what it really comes down to is you need a system. Yes, a system that is backed by science, right? But a system that's built for you specifically, because the science around fitness is really simple. It's not always easy, but it's really, really simple. If you want to lose body fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit, right? So like the first thing we do with guys like David who drop a significant amount of body fat, look ripped and all that stuff is we get his calories set at the appropriate level. But we don't necessarily give one calorie target, right? We give a range of calories that you want to be in most of the time, so that you can live a little more flexibly, right? So like with some flexibility built in around some days eating slightly more, some days eating slightly less, but ultimately be in a calorie deficit long enough to lose body fat. Like that's the number one rule. You have to burn more calories than you eat. Obviously, that's not the only rule. We want to improve the type of calories that we eat. So we want to eat more protein. Protein needs to be the star of the show. We want to train to build muscle. We don't want to go in the gym with the whole idea of just burning fat. You want to go in the gym looking to get stronger. Not a power lifter, but pretty strong, in the 4 to 12 rep range. That's like where most of the guys I work with hang out. Safe exercises, not throwing your back out, not ripping your knees apart, but doing things in a way that builds your body, right? So you want to be anabolic in the gym, meaning you want to build tissue, and you want to be catabolic outside the gym, meaning you want to break down body fat to use as fuel. That's like the simple transformation formula. There's really not a whole lot outside of that. And yes, there are more details and you can get more refined and you can figure out how you're going to burn the calories, which ways you like to train, what foods you like to eat. That's all the customization that goes into fitness and fat loss. But ultimately, get those things right, you're going to transform. So there's a lot of myths though around like what you have to do to get those things right. One of the myths that David came in with is that you need to eat around the clock. You need to eat every 2 hours. You need to boost your metabolism. right? And boosting your metabolism is what's going to lead to fat loss. And that's just not true. Do we want to boost our metabolism long term? Sure. You want to optimize your metabolism, right? You want to get the most out of your God-given metabolism, whatever that is, whether it's slow, medium, fast, doesn't matter. You want to get the most out of it. But ultimately, you want to get the fat loss rules in place. And sometimes eating around the clock is one of the worst things you can do, right? Because it trains your body, your brain especially, to crave food all the time. So if you're constantly thinking about food and you're in a calorie deficit and you're hungry a little bit, but it's like mealtime every 2 hours, you're less likely to stick to your plan, right? Because there's always this thought of food around the clock, and you get fixated on the next meal. You get fixated on the next snack versus lowering the frequency of eating, increasing the quantity at each meal, meaning you can eat filling meals that actually give you some more satiety, right? So some more satiety, so you're not hungry right after you eat. You know, things like steak, potatoes, you know, fruits, vegetables, big salads, you know, things that fill you up. And yeah, I'm not sitting here telling you got to eat lettuce and chicken for the rest of your life. I'm saying make foods, you know, meals that you enjoy, but do it in a way that's filling, that fills you up, and you can actually leave that meal going, okay, I can see myself not eating for the next 4 or 5 hours, right? That way you just get less fixated on, once again, each and every moment throughout the day that could ultimately lead to disaster if you're just constantly hungry. So, you know, speeding up your metabolism does not come from eating every 2 hours. What ultimately keeps your metabolism healthy is being more active, number one, right? So moving more. That's why we encourage our clients like David to go walk more frequently, right? Go walk a couple times a day. Get more steps in, move more. The more active you are, the more your metabolism has to work to burn through food, process it, and have it ready for energy. The other way you can boost your metabolism is to build muscle, right? So when you go in the gym and you train with weights, you get stronger over time. Well, then over time, your body has to work harder to hold on to that muscle, to repair that muscle. And so your metabolism gets a little boost from that as well. The other thing too is like get healthy, you know? So when you lose body fat, your body's metabolism has to work more efficiently, breaking down calories, storing them or burning them off as fuel if you're leaner. So I always tell guys, look, the first step in any fitness plan is to get healthier. Get to a body fat percentage that is considered to be healthy. Get into a range that you can live for the rest of your life and be healthy, right? Like that's step number one. The metabolism will improve dramatically when you're just at a healthy body fat percentage. Of course, there's other things. You know, get your hormonal health dialed in. You know, if you're hormonally unhealthy, well, unfortunately, your metabolism isn't working as efficiently as it could. So check out what's under the hood. Go get blood work done every 6 months. You know, and then other things like sleep. Sleep is a big one for metabolism and fat loss in general. You know, if you're struggling to avoid snacking at night, you know, if you're struggling with, you know, fatigue, if you're struggling for motivation and discipline, try getting a little more sleep, or at least take a look at your sleep patterns. I talk to so many guys, you know, who come into our program who are like, yeah, you know, I sleep the as least amount as possible. Or if I get, you know, if I get 5 or 6 hours, I'm lucky, you know, and I'm like, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a slippery slope because the body's just not operating at its ultimate level when you're not getting good sleep. So make sure your sleep is dialed in, right? So, you know, you get all these things dialed in and your metabolism is working better. That's great, right? But just understand that the metabolism is constantly changing. You know, when you lose a bunch of body fat, typically, if you get really lean, your metabolism slows down, right? To accommodate the new weight loss and to protect you, right? To keep homeostasis, to ensure your survival. You know, so we have to temper our expectations around what's happening with the metabolism too. Just because you got leaner doesn't mean it's a free-for-all now and you can just eat whatever you want. You know, one of the things I coach David on as he lost all this weight, and thing I've learned the hard way myself is, you know, for every 10, 15 pounds that we lose, the metabolism is coming down, right? It's slowing down. So we got to be careful, right? We can't just go, all right, I reached my goal and now I'm just going to go back to eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. That's a recipe for rapid fat gain, right? And regaining all the weight that you've lost, you know, over how much time it took you to lose that weight. So I want to be careful with that. So in order for us to manage that is we need to have a plan in place for what happens after fat loss. You know, when you get down to those lean levels of body fat, you need to have some metabolic repair set up so that you don't just rebound and balloon back up to the weight you were before. So when we break down the process of losing fat, you know, I think most guys who have a busy schedule, a successful career, family, all the things that we have going on in our day to day. And we're trying to manage it all. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be the provider, to be the leader, to be respected, to do the right things. Like you wake up every day with the mindset of like, I just want to do well for myself and for the people in our lives. I want to make my family proud, right? So the last thing you want to do is throw a complicated routine at your fat loss problem, right? Don't think that harder is better. Sometimes it's okay to embrace easy, right? Because everything in life is supposed to be hard. I get it, right? It's like nothing good comes easy, the whole quote. But I think it's okay to embrace some of the easy on the fat loss side. It's okay to just be like, hey, all I have to do for cardio is go for walks. Like it's okay to be like, I don't need to lift every day. I can lift 3 or 4 days a week and get phenomenal results. It's okay for me to eat foods that I actually like. I don't have to like choke down chicken breast as like some kind of hazing that needs to take place for me to lose body fat, right? I know that's what you've been told. And there's this mindset out there that like, I'm tough, I'm hard, I can do all these things because I'm strong. And I get that. And you will get stronger just by taking care of your body, right? You will get mentally tougher by going through a fat loss program. But at the end of the day, man, like, it doesn't have to be this torturous process. So in terms of what I suggest, for you, if you're watching this and you're like, okay, this is making a lot of sense. I need to start shifting my behaviors. I'm so disciplined in so many parts of my life. Why am I not disciplined with fat loss or fitness in general? And it's simply because you're lacking a system. So let me give you just the system that I recommend. I call it the 3M system. And by the way, if you've made it this far in the video and you're interested in learning more about like how we put all this together, if you're a guy over the age of 40, you have a family, you're married, you make more than 150 grand a year. Typically, we work with guys who make anywhere from 100 to 500K a year. You're very successful. You have a faith-based lifestyle, so you have values. You put your family first. You're doing the right things, but your body just doesn't reflect who you truly are, right? So people might look at you and go, that guy's got it mostly figured out. I get it. You're well respected. People like you. You're not like a bad person to be around, but you're just unhappy with how you look. You're overweight, you're not taking care of yourself, and you just neglect it, right? And it's okay, just being honest, like you just haven't put it first. That's who we help, right? And so if you're interested in learning more about that, you can check out the link below in the description of the video. It's the first place you need to start. There's a quick video, you can just check it out. And then if that makes sense, then schedule a coaching call. It's the first coaching call that you'll get with us, and it's free of charge, right? We want to get you on the right path mentally, spiritually, physically. All things dialed in so that you can be your best, right? You can stop feeling like a hypocrite. You can stop feeling like a fraud. You can actually look in the mirror and be proud of how you look and feel and actually enjoy this process, enjoy fitness and it be a tool to improve all parts of your life. So go do that right now, and then let's go through the process. So the first part of the process is really analyzing what we do, right? We need to start tracking what we do. So I would most importantly track 2 things. Number 1, your movement throughout the day. Get used to paying attention to how much you move and start to build strategies to move more. Start to include movement with things you already do. Maybe you do phone calls. Maybe you do work on the computer where you're just typing away busy work and you can have a walking treadmill underneath your desk. There's so many ways, and I have a laundry list of creative ways to move more, but start tracking that. The second thing is start tracking how much you eat. Yes, you're gonna need to put some time into tracking your calories. If you don't wanna do that, if you're like, no, I refuse to track calories, I'm not doing it, I would tell you, yes, there are other ways to track your food. You can eyeball things, but you're really selling yourself short. And I don't think you're the type of person, especially if you're watching this video, who likes to sell themselves short. I think you're okay with getting a little bit uncomfortable. It's just you're telling yourself it's gonna be outrageously difficult, and it's not. Thanks to technology, there's apps, there's easy ways to figure out how much total calories you're eating. By the way, there's labels on food, so it's already doing the work for you. You just gotta plug it in. Our app that we use for our clients, allows them to track food and take pictures of their food right in the palm of their hand. So there's like no excuse at all. You gotta ditch that thought that it's gonna be so annoying and hard. It's not. It'll probably take you a total of 3 to 5 minutes a day at first to track your food. Eventually, it'll take you less than that. And eventually, yes, you will just eyeball things because you know what quantities look like what. So anyway, track your food. Stop, listen out, and do it, right? It's really not that hard. And what makes it so much easier, which would be the next part of the process, is to have a routine. So have a routine with what types of foods you typically eat most of the times, right? Have like a meal plan, but the meal plan should add up to the calories that you need. It should also add up to the protein that you need. And then just eat those meals all the time. Have a rotation of like 3 days or 4 days if that's your thing, or 2 days, or just 1 day. It's all good. You can eat the same things. Don't think that switching it up all the time is like some special secret sauce that's going to confuse the body or whatever. Like, you need to eat similar foods most of the time just to keep it consistent. And then with your training, don't think you need to switch your workouts up all the time. The way we help people who like variety is we have a baseline training program, 3 to 4 days a week. And at the end of workouts, or on some days during the week, we throw in some just fun stuff, right? Functional circuits, metabolic work, finishers, 5, 10, 15-minute little workouts that are like different all the time, just to keep you engaged, just to be like, oh, that was fun, it was a challenge, that's something different, right? But then the baseline stuff is very similar so that you can progress. Think about this. Like, I always use the car analogy. If you drove a different car every day, you took a different route to all your different, responsibilities, work, errands, all that stuff, all the time. You just went different directions all the time. Sometimes you drove a stick shift, sometimes you drove an automatic, sometimes you rode a motorcycle. It's just so many different things, and it's hard to get really good at one. So with fitness, it's no different. If you're always changing your workouts, it's hard to get really good at the workouts, right? Like, you come in with maybe some confusion around what exercises work best, or how's my body supposed to work? How's this muscle to mind thing connect and all that stuff? Like, how do I do that? So here's how you do it. You stop changing your workouts all the time. You stick to the script. And then, yes, there are times where we got to switch things out. Typically, our clients switch workouts once a month, right? So it's like 30 days, let's crush it. Okay, 30 days, let's crush some new stuff. All right. And we build on things. So eventually you have this like encyclopedia of fitness in your brain where it's just second nature to you. So the other thing too is, like I mentioned, the movement. So the best thing I think you should start doing is just walking more. It's easy. It's for everybody. Everybody, for the most part, can get up, stand up and go walk, right? Wherever you are. I have clients, I know it sounds crazy, but I have clients in their house who do miles of walking around their house. Like, no joke. I had a client the other day. It wasn't David, but it was this guy named Joe. And he was like, yeah, I walked 3 miles in my house last night. I was like, what? Like, what kind of house do you have? But ultimately, there's no excuse, right? It's just moving while you're doing other things. He was like, yeah, I was on a conference call for 45 minutes and I just was walking around my house. And I'm like, hey, that's amazing, right? Because you're getting things done while doing the stuff that you know is important. And then there's obviously other things that go into losing fat. My client David cut out alcohol. That was like one of his big turning points. He had a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a stretch of time where alcohol just wasn't serving him. So he cut it out. And he was like, hey, I'm done with the empty calories. I'm done, feeling like crap when I wake up the next day after drinking. I'm done wasting thousands of dollars on bottles and drinks and all that stuff every month. He's like, I could be putting that into other things. I'm done feeling and looking less than my best. And I know alcohol is not serving me. Some people can get away with some alcohol and it's totally fine. Me, I can have a few drinks, no big deal, get back to normal the next day. Some people can't do that, and so for him, it was cutting that out. You might be out there going, yeah, I do need to cut that out. Like, it isn't serving me. It really sucks. I drink too much and it leads to too much food. It leads to not working out. It leads to hangovers, being grumpy. It leads to all the things that, I'm a man of faith and I don't want to be the guy who's a bad example for my kids. It's like alcohol just isn't serving me. And listen, I'm not saying you got to cut it out forever. I think you control it. That's the number one thing. If it feels out of control, then you need to maybe take a step back. But alcohol at the end of the day does have no nutritional value whatsoever for the body. It is a toxin. You put it in your body, the body's got to get rid of it. That's the only thing it really does with alcohol. Obviously, it makes you feel buzzed and drunk and relaxed and all that stuff, but it doesn't do anything valuable for your body. So there's no positive in terms of nutrition, in terms of vitamins, in terms of minerals that alcohol provides. So cutting it out, always a good idea. How long you cut it out for, that's up to you. I think fat loss becomes a lot easier when you're not drinking a lot of alcohol. So I hope this video resonates with you so far. I hope this really has given you a lot. I'm just trying to throw some just no nonsense, no BS, brutal fat loss advice that I know will make a difference in your life. Like I said earlier, if you're a guy over the age of 40 watching this and you have a family, you have a really good career, you're well respected, but you're just like, dude, I'm sick of being fat. Like, I'm sick of having a gut, man. I just don't enjoy the way I look. It makes me frustrated. I see guys who are leaner. I see guys who have more muscle. And it ticks me off, to be honest. I feel like a hypocrite. I feel insecure. People might look at me like I got it all together and they don't really want to tell me what I need to hear, but I know that I'm not in shape. I know that long term, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get more and more overweight. It's going to lead to health issues. It could lead to heart issues. It could lead to an early death. I know that's down the road and it's hard to think about, but ultimately I want to look good and I want to feel good. And yes, I want to live a long time, but short term, I want to be lean and muscular, and I want to be the guy who has his stuff together. I know it's played out to say the guy who has it all, right? But like at the end of the day, I don't think we'd be lying when we say as men, we do want to have it all. And I think the big thing is you get held back by this thought that you're going to have to sacrifice all the things that you've worked so hard to obtain in order to get in shape. And you think it's going to be this difficult challenge that's going to make you miserable, and you're going to have as much family time. Work's going to suffer. People are going to judge you. Like, who do you think you are? Like you think you're some badass fitness guy now. And I'll tell you, like, God didn't put you here on this planet to be average, man. Like at the end of the day, this isn't a selfish endeavor. I think if you want to lead people down a good path, you need to lead yourself first. If you can't take care of you, who's to say you can take care of other people? I'm not saying you can't. I always think being unselfish or being a servant leader is always a good idea. But man, why not use fitness to improve your energy? Why not use fitness to lower your stress? Why not use fitness to avoid arguments and to avoid being a jerk? Go out and walk, shake it off, go lift some weights, lose some body fat. Like, it's only gonna serve you so well in all parts of your life. So that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Go check out our program. Link is in the description below. Only if you're a guy who fits that profile though. Like, don't waste your time if you're someone who's looking for easy, cheap, if you're looking for someone that just doesn't jive with what I just said. We're here to just serve you on this channel and to make sure that you have what you need to start reaching levels of success that you never thought possible with your health and fitness. TheTrueTransformation.com is our main program. Josiah Novak, life moves fast, make it count. Talk to you on the next one. Peace.